All right, everyone. I believe we are live. Hello. How's it going? Hope you're having a good Friday. Uh, Today's stream, we are doing a finale on the No Sequencer challenge here on this channel. This channel being Build. Welcome to Build. My name's Nick. I will be your what's a good spectral guide? How about that? Spectral guide for the evening. So I'll do a quick recap. We'll talk about what we got before and what we're going to be doing throughout the course of this video and live stream. Let's play some funky beats, huh? Yeah, funky beats. Funky beats. Let me go jump to my computer here. Ready? Here we go. So that is where we left off yesterday. Essentially what we've been doing with the series is doing essentially some sort of kind of handicap, if you will, to try and make it more interesting. So the first handicap for the first kind of set of videos here was to basically come up with something musical without using a proper quote-unquote sequencer. The idea being that in some cases you don't have one, right? If you don't have a way to kind of punch in individual steps or something like that. The whole advantage of modular is you really can patch your way around that in a lot of different ways. So that's what we've been playing with throughout the week, was basically coming up with this kind of sequence and patching our way through it to get it to sound somewhat musical. So I'll just do a quick overview of what the actual patch is and what's going on with that. And then we can go from there. So the cool thing about this patch is it heavily revolves the ACL Symphonian, which is an awesome piece of kit. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It is really acting kind of as the brain right now. It is a quantizer, but that doesn't really kind of do it justice. What it's actually doing is everything. The Symphonian is really great. It is what is controlling these chord voices. So if I turn up the master again, you can hear these jumps between the chords. Actually, I'll give you just the chord voice. So our chord voice is a little weird because it's not necessarily a true chord voice. One, there's a lot of distortion on it. Turn the distortion off for a second just so you can hear it. So essentially the chord voice, basically what we have set up is each channel, each button press on the touchpad corresponds to one of the quote-unquote steps within the Symphonian sequence. So we're not actually using the Symphonian to sequence in the sense that the Symphonian is not jumping between these chords itself. We're leaving that to our fingers right now. We might mess around with that a little bit later to come up with something else, but for the moment, the tetrapad basically is used to jump between these different chords. And the way the Symphonian works is the chord basically sets the notes that the rest of the channels within the Symphonian will quantize to, at least in the mode we're in. I'm sure there's other modes to play with, but for our purposes, we really have two main modes right now. We have the bass channel and the arpeggio channel, and let's hear those individually here. So this is the bass channel. And let me give you a view of what the Symphony is actually doing here. Hopefully that should give you a better perspective now, a little bit anyway. I got a bunch of cables in the way, but you can see that the Symphony is jumping around on this first channel, which is the bass channel here. That is providing our bass voice, which is coming from the piston Honda, going into the ankle grinder, which is being modulated by the Toomey, and then out into Javelin, which is acting as a VCA and envelope, and then that is going out to our audio interface. So it's the ankle grinder is the one that's really kind of blowing it up, if you will, and really grinding it, for lack of a better term. So the quantization, what's actually feeding the quantization here, we are using Zadar, and I can give you a shot of that in 1 second. Cool. So there you guys can see Zadar has this cool, fun envelope, if you could call it that. And essentially what we have is we have Pam's workout. Basically every, I think it's like 2 measures or so, we'll kind of refire this envelope. And that is going into the quantization for channel 1 on the Symphonian. So basically the Symphonian then gets to use those voltages from the Zadar and using kind of a sample and hold technique, pick the voltage, quantize it to something within the scale based on the chord that we're on, and then actually use that to send the voltage back out to the piston Honda. So we get something that sounds musical and within the kind of chord range. So you can hear, if I switch the notes on the Symphonian, I switch the chord rather, the quantization changes, right? We're hearing different notes. So that's what's happening with the bass voice. And then finally we have the arpeggio voice, which sounds a little like this. You can actually see it as it's jumping around on the arpeggio channel on the Symphonian. So the arpeggio is a little different. It's not actually taking an input into anything. It's literally just automatically bouncing around. And you can change how it bounces around. So I think this is just up, down right now. But if I change it to Baroque, which I think is my favorite at this point, you can hear it kind of bounces back and forth, but slowly moving up, but bouncing back and forth between each individual thing, which is really cool. Let's see here. And then finally, we have the drums. So I realize now I had the wrong drum voice on the quad drum. I'll turn this down. I'll turn everything else down so you guys can hear what's going on. So the one thing we did with the drum voice is we added a little bit extra kind of hi-hat noise every once in a while. So you'll hear it when it switches to it. Hopefully in a second here, maybe not. Maybe we won't be so lucky. There we go. Yeah, so what that is basically we are feeding in a little bit extra noise modulated with an envelope just from a VCA into the Crucible, which has an input jack, and that's giving that little extra kind of open hat sound. And the sequencing for the drums is actually coming from a clone of the Mutable Instruments grids. And I have a sample and hold feeding in the X and Y values of grids to basically play with which kind of pattern we're using, how much it's being filled, and just basically to give some variance. And again, similar to this kind of hi-hat, or sorry, not the hi-hat ride, but the firing of the envelope for Zadar, it's happening occasionally in terms of when we trigger and kind of when we change patterns. We don't want it to be every time. That would be kind of ridiculous. But, every, 2 bars or so, 4 bars maybe, we'll have it change the pattern slightly. So it gives us a little more interest on the drums. So that's the drum voice. And there's everything together again. Oh, and we did have a little fun on the drums. If you can hear that, we added the Modbap Performer, giving us some effects. And yeah, so that's the voice we got going on right now. So let me turn this down a bit. Cool. Okay, so what do we want to do today? So this is the last day of this patch. I'm going to be ripping it out this weekend. I have a couple things I want to play with. Some new toys. I'll probably be streaming my demos of those. They won't be kind of as guided. They'll just be more kind of me messing around. So if you want to check that out, please stick around the channel, hit that subscribe button, get notified when I go live again. So the plan for today is to basically try to make this patch a little more interesting. I think you can kind of hear it. Beyond the pitch changes and stuff like that, we don't actually have a whole lot happening. So we can jump between the chords and stuff like that, which is fine. But I would like to basically try to find ways to give the patch a little more interest. Maybe it's using the other CVs on the tetrapad to modify the voices per chord change. Maybe it's using other forms of modulation that we have available to us. But just to try and give a little more variance into what's going on is the name of the game for today. And then towards the end, probably in the last 10 minutes or so, we'll try to do some sort of performance of it, and we'll capture that so that way we have it for later in case we find something interesting and we're digging around for cool recordings. Cool. Let's see here. So I did have one thing I want to try, which I think is going to be neat, but how do we want to do it? So I had this idea. So what's his name? What is his name? Give me 1 second. Here, I'll give you some music while I'm looking something up. Yes. Christian Henson of Spitfire Audio. If you guys haven't checked out his YouTube channel, it is awesome. It is probably one of the better music-related YouTube channels I've seen, period. Not even related to modular, though he does do some modular stuff. If you're not familiar with him, he is one of the co-founders of Spitfire Labs, or for Spitfire Audio, rather. But they're an amazing company. They basically make VSTs to do sampling, of samples. So I think most notably, they sampled the whole BBC orchestra. And so you can have that as a VST on your computer and use that in your projects in a DAW, which is really cool. The other cool thing he did on a modular level is expert sleepers. He actually basically donated, if you will, a bunch of samples to be used in the expert sleepers Disting EX multi-sampler. So awesome channel. He has a great way of presenting, which I can't even begin to replicate. But if you guys haven't checked that out, I really recommend. I know that sounds kind of cliche, but my God, like you'd be missing out if you didn't go check out his stuff. Anyway, all that is to say is that he did a video today talking about binaural audio. So binaural audio is basically audio that's meant to replicate the true sound that your ears hear, which is just a pretty crazy concept. He actually demonstrated this $10,000 microphone that is literally shaped like a human head with human-shaped ears before the microphone, a proper kind of head density and size, so that way everything is replicated to mimic human hearing. So that kind of got me thinking about how we can kind of mess with stereo, which is not the same as binaural. Fun fact, it is very different, but how we can kind of mess with stereo within modular. So I'm going to try to do something. I don't know if it's going to work. I have this idea. It could be a total disaster, but we're going to find out. The idea is basically using the planar, which I'll show down here. So using the planar, which basically gives us CV on an XY axis, can we basically use that to shape sound and make it actually move or feel like it's moving, at least in a 3D space? There's really, what is their name? Anyway, it doesn't matter, but there's a track off an album that I listened to when I was in middle school, and it was just kind of this, alt rock track from, early 2000s, which is not too exciting. But at the end of one of the final tracks in the song, if you had headphones on, what you heard was essentially this sound revolving around your head. And it really did feel like it was revolving around your head. So it was more than just kind of panning on stereo. I think that's kind of the simple way to do it. I think, we could do a pan pretty simple, right? If we just put, X and Y, or sorry, just the X axis off of planar into something like two VCAs and just swap between the two, right? We could pan. I think that's cool. But what I want to try is to take advantage of the Y axis and try to get a feel for something like front and back motion. I have an idea on how to do that, which is basically using filters. So basically back would be kind of heavily low pass filtered, and then either opening up the filter entirely so it feels more frontward, or potentially using like a bandpass filter to actually just shift the window on the filter to see if that actually gives us the effect we're looking for. So we're going to try that. I have no clue if it's going to work. I literally thought of this patch while I was watching his video, and that was only a few hours ago, and haven't had, I'm testing it live here. We're doing it live, which is always fun. So hopefully this works, and I'll talk about what I'm trying to do here as I go through it, so hopefully it makes sense. Let me cut back to the other video, and I'll push this back out of the way. Cool. So I'm going to go quiet really quick while I start patching. And while that's happening, I'll give you some more music in the background. Okay, so what I just did there was basically I'm using the Quart or Nano, sorry, the Nano Alt, which is the VCA from the Nano line of modules. And what I did was I have planar, the x-axis set to bipolar mode, so it does both plus and minus volts depending. So negative 5 volts, I believe, all the way to the left, and then positive 5 volts all the way to the right. And I have that set going to each CV in of the first two channels on the alt. But I have the attenuverters, and the important part is the inverter part here. I have one inverter, let's call it our right channel, for the right VCA on that is set all the way positive. So that way when I feed it a positive voltage, that VCA goes all the way open, and the other voltage is inverted to basically be 180 of that. So again, full right pan, if you will. The second VCA is all the way closed, right? And the idea there is that we're simulating a panning system where we're basically going to duplicate the audio signal into both channels, and then it will come out both channels of the first one, but only open or closed based on which way we panned. And then somewhere in the middle, you know, we get mid open, right? Which is what we'd expect. Where both are open. Questions on that? Well, maybe not. I don't know if anybody in chat right now. Let's see. Nobody's here. Cool. That's fine. We'll carry on. So just for the sake of the demo, I'm going to use the arpeggio voice, and we're going to listen to that in stereo. I do have to switch to the DAW, though, because I have to change the tracking on the arpeggio. So this is the arpeggio voice being cut out right now. And if I remember right, the voices in the Quart Nano are normalized across, but I'll have to double check that. Okay, so now, and I'll let you guys see this on the DAW as well. You can see what I'm doing just on the DAW if you're curious. I'm going to take the arpeggio channel and we're going to change the input from what it was. We're going to make it 7 and 8 here. Yeah, see, I don't think it's normalized across. I could be wrong. Let me solo this to see if I can hear it. Let's see here. Okay. Interesting. What did I do wrong here? Because I'm still hearing it on mono, but it's showing up as stereo. Did I change? What's going on? Right, there's 7. 8 is nothing. But I can see it's only going into 7. Did I plug these in? All right. Weird. losing it somewhere. Is this converting to mono or something? I wonder if one of these channels is converting to mono, and maybe that's the problem. I'm still hearing it as mono. It should be hard left right now. Oh, I'm so confused. What's going on? All right, let me... It's very possible I just need to read the manual. So I'm just going to try malting this, and then that should give us the effect that we want. Is it just too quiet or something? Is that the problem? Oh, you know what could be going on? Let me just try another channel, something unrelated to this, and see if I can just even pan it. I think I know what's going on now. Can I pan you? Yeah, okay. I know what's going on. So you guys might be hearing that in stereo. I think I'm not. Let me fix that. I need to change something. Let me give you this view for right now. I think I know what it did. Yeah, these need to be panned. Yeah, there we go. Yep, left, right, center. That would do it. So what I was doing should actually have been working. Yeah, okay, so we're panning. Problem is right now the center channel is dead, so I think... Cool, so we're panning side to side now. And I'm glad I figured out my mixing issue. Let's see. All right, so the thesis statement was basically that just this panning is basically not enough is basically not enough to give true kind of stereo sound. Or to give the kind of illusion of it, right? So the idea I had, which I want to try, is to basically use the y-axis of the planar to modulate the frequency cutoff of a filter before it goes to the VCA. So let's hear what that sounds like. And for the sake of purposes, we're going to use the carbon filter from WMD. Very interesting. I don't know what you guys think, but that sounds kind of like the effect I was going for. Now you can record some pans with this. There we go. Ain't that a cool sound? It's kind of working. Let me try bandpass instead of. Yeah, that just sounds bandpassy to me. I don't think it's getting quite the same effect. I think the low pass really has that feel of that kind of like Doppler shift, which is kind of what we're going for. Do I have the? Let me turn the resonance down. What's it sound like in the mix? Let's find out. Yes, I do have a sample and hold in the case. A couple of them, actually. So I have the Div Kid random step, and I also have the Kinks module, which has a sample and hold in it. This is fun, actually. I kind of like this. Let's record this. Maybe put the filter after a sample and hold. Tell me more. What are you looking for there? I'm not quite sure. To just modulate various parts of the filter? That definitely gives us more movement, that's for sure. I actually kind of like this. I think it's pretty fun. Audio rate the sample and hold trigger with a square. Interesting. I've never done that before. Okay. Let's cue it. I don't know what it's going to sound like. Never tried it. Let's find out. Are you envisioning this for the arpeggio? Or just it's too pretty. Is there such a thing as too pretty? Come on. Yeah. We're actually pulling out a lot of the high end just with the filter, which was giving it the grit before. So it's back to that kind of glassy sound that was coming from just the chainsaw naturally. So are you imagining that as being the pitch voice? Or so like the actual synth voice? Versus the chainsaw, which is what it is now? I'm not sure I follow. Boosting the filter cue in the sample and hold. Well, that just sounds fun, period, even without the sample and hold. Lasers. Oh, you mean the output of the filter into a sample and hold? Is that what you're saying? We can try that. Sure, why not? 1 second. Ooh. Alright, let's just do that on solo because that sounds pretty cool. How you derive the triggered square waves is the fun part. Yeah, I could see that. I even just doing like you can even just do some like light FM on that, and let me try that. That could be interesting, just with an LFO. But yeah, we're all over the place now. Getting all sorts of like crazy extra harmonics in that, and it has this kind of like bit crushing effect. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's fun. Let's hear that back with the mix again. Well, thank you for that. I did not know that. I always like it when I learn something, and I definitely learned something today. That was fun to try. I still definitely consider myself a beginner, and one of the things I've always noticed is that one of my shortcomings is audio rate. It's not like, I like to think of, sorry, let me just turn down the mix here a second, just to get my thought out. One of the things I like to say is that there's a certain point with just basic math that people kind of hit their limit, and they kind of start to lose comprehension of like math. It just becomes more difficult. Like at a certain point, you can't grok math. For me, that was basically differential equations. Once I hit diffie-qs, I stopped understanding what was going on, and your brain kind of has trouble visualizing it. At least that's my thinking, right? I'm sure there's ways to learn past it, and in hindsight, I probably would have tried to learn it differently, learn it from kind of a more programming perspective rather than a straight math perspective. Audio rate is one of those things where it is not intuitive to me, and my brain just kind of shuts down a bit when I try to think about audio rate modulation, and it's not the first thing that comes to mind, at least right now. Hopefully, in maybe a few months or a year or something like that, understanding and how and when to use audio rate modulation is something I want to get to. So thanks for that. I really appreciate it. I think it's really interesting. The sound is very, very different, obviously, than what we had before, which is really cool. Audio rate requires careful gain staging. Sometimes you need to oversaturate. Other times you need to attenuate almost to the max. Yeah, I think that's definitely true with a lot of things, I would say. I think FM is also that way. FM is like, man, you give it just a little bit. Other than that, it sounds pretty crazy. Or at least for if you're modulating pitches. I think if you're doing something like drums, that might be a little bit different, where FM can be a little more fun, and you can go a little more crazy with it. But if you want to just kind of subtly FM modulate a kind of normal voice, you really kind of have to dial it in just right. Cool. Cool. All right. Well, that took longer than I wanted it to. Unfortunately, I got sidetracked by trying to figure out my stereo audio issues. So even though you guys were hearing everything in stereo like you're supposed to, I was not on my headphones, and I was really confused. That also explained why my mix sounded terrible on mono, but it's a little bit better now. All right. So we'll probably go a little bit long today. Normally I try to do these in an hour, but since we didn't really cover the actual subject area I was wanting to do, we can take it a little bit further. Let's see here. Sample and holds. Let's let's use our sample and hold to actually jump between the chords rather than using the tetrapad. The tetrapad's been fun. It's been real tetrapad, but let's try something different. So I think what I'm first going to do is there's at least one chord in here that I don't want, which is the diminished chord. So if you guys have been following, the way the Sinfonia is set up right now is basically just the C major scale in terms of the diatonic chords. Just because I'm super new to music theory, so starting with something basic was recommended to me. So the diminished chord is not the greatest. So I'm probably just going to remove that from the options, and then we can give the sample and hold the ability to just jump around between the chords on a somewhat fixed frequency. And maybe we'll use the PAMs for that on a really slow with an occasional miss on the triggers. So let's set that up. I've actually used all of the sample and holds on the random step, which I think is the first time I've done that. That's pretty crazy. So achievement unlocked. Give me my little checkbox. Cool. So I was just removing the diminished chord from the Symphonian, so that way we can go back to having it be set voltages to jump around between the chords, and have it sound a little bit more musical. If it hit the diminished chord, it would kind of mess it up based on just what I was doing when I was fingering it around with the tetrapad. When I hit that diminished by mistake, it definitely felt like a mistake. So when we're having something totally random do it, best just to remove the option so it can't hit it. Let me see if I can give you guys a view of this, just so I can show you what settings I'm using on the Symphonian. And hopefully this can kind of come through. I don't know if it will or not. This gets close enough. Yeah, well, I mean, we're losing frames just because it's scanning through. But right now, basically, I have CV1 on the Symphonian set to sequence step. And the cool thing about that is it basically it acts the same way a pitch voltage would, in that it essentially takes the octave, divides it by 12 into the 12 notes of the chromatic scale. So each 1/12 of a volt represents a different step in the sequence, and then it wraps around again. So just if you are messing with the Symphonian and want to kind of control the chords, that is what I was doing with the tetrapad. Is each step of the tetrapad was set to a slightly higher voltage by 1/12 of a volt. So that way, when it going in between steps was the equivalent of a note on the chromatic scale, which is really helpful for sequencing. For example, if I wanted to sequence the Symphonian with my DAW, I could send it notes of the chromatic scale out of channel for something like the FH2 here to actually control the steps on the Symphonian. So food for thought if you guys do have a Symphonian and are trying to play with it. So the next part is to actually get it to sample and hold something. Cool. Don't know if you guys can see that. You can probably hear it a little bit better. Let me go back to my mix here, turn the mix up. So basically I have the Pam's new workout set to a division of 8, and then every time that fires, that's triggering a sample and hold, which is changing the chord voice. So we're jumping between the chords based off the sample and hold now. So my hands are off at this point, which is fun. That bass voice is much better than it was a few days ago. So now that we have that sample and hold part set up, that does free up the toucher pad, which means we can use it for other things. So let's do that. We're going to actually change it to combo mode. Okay, let's not have it near audio rate voicings. That would be bad. Oh, it doesn't sound very good. But cool that it can kind of react to it. So, just right off the bat so we can hear this. That's pretty fun. Let me show you camera 2 here. So let me pull this down so you can see what I'm looking at with camera 2. So I have the tetrapad now set to what's called combo mode. So combo mode is pretty neat. Basically what it allows you to do is have each strip, if you will, of tetrapad do something different. In this case, I have strip 1 just right now set to an LFO. So if you see on the screen, might be a little difficult, but by where I touch the tetrapad, controls the LFO rate. And then by pressing the button, or by changing it, I can change the shape of it. Which is fun. So we get a bunch of different LFOs that I can control, including just random step voltage, which is cool. And then on the second pad of tetrapad, I have it modulating the frequency, which you can kind of see actually. If I tilt this up a bit, you can see it's modulating it's going into the input of oct, and oct basically uses that to adjust the frequency of all the LFOs. So I can slow everything way down. I can speed it up to somewhat in the middle. And basically what we're using oct right now for is the modulating the chord voice. So you can hear essentially the way the chord voice is set up at the moment is we have it just cycling through all 4 voices with the quad VCA. So each voice of the chord is being brought up and down basically by one of the channels of oct. So if I speed everything up, and you can even see this better if I pan up and show you the quad VCA. You can see how it jumps around. Or it stops almost entirely. So something around here is about where I had it originally, so we'll keep it there for now. And each strip has 2 outputs. So for the first strip on the, you can see it based off the lights here. For the first strip, it is just each channel is alternating between positive and negative of whatever the LFO is. They're basically just inversions of each other. Channel 2, you get 2 voltages per step. So this is set to 4 steps, 1, 2, 3, 4. And each step has 2 voltages, and you can swap between which one you're controlling just by pressing the button. And then you can adjust each voltage individually. And the voltages are pretty specific, which is cool. Yeah, so let me... so that's one channel. We have the other channel, which right now is just set to buttons and gates, which is cool. And they can latch, which is nice. So let's... we can use that to turn something on and off. What do we want to use that for? Ooh, you know what we could use that for is we could use that to change the arpeggio voice. So we can actually split the audio. Ooh, can we? Yeah, we can do anything. We're in modular. What are we talking about? We can... How do I want to do this? Sorry, I'm thinking here. So what I want to do is basically split the synth output before it goes into the sample and hold, so that way we can get like a clean version, and then we can swap to the dirty version with the sample and hold. Is what I'm trying to go for. So let me try to rig that up. So I think what we're actually going to do is we're going to mult it and then bring it into a sequential switch, and the output of the sequential switch will go into our VCA, which we're using for the stereo pan. I think that will work. One second. Really quick, these things are really great. These headphone splitters. Big fan of the headphone splitters. It allows us to basically join two cables together, which is really cool. So there's the clean audio. And there's the bit crashing. And then we can use one of these button outputs on the tetrapad to switch between the two. Which, I mean, theoretically is no different than if we were just doing it on the chainsaw directly, or sorry, the switchblade directly, but all my hands are right here right now, and it's kind of hard to reach into this nest, so this just makes it a little bit easier. And we can record with the tetrapad, with the TET specifically, we can record the button presses and swapping between the two. Cool. And then with the final panel of the tetrapad, it's set to fader right now. And it's pressure sensitive too. So the second channel is the pressure of the fader. So the pressure you put down on the pad, which is a nice little like performance thing. You get kind of like, you know, emotional with that. I was having fun the other day with the kind of messing with the reverb on this. Let me just solo the chord voice so you guys can hear this. It just gives us, again, kind of recordable hands-on control. And then let's use the pressure for something too. A little hard to hear. Let me see if I can use it for something else instead. Yeah. What do I want to do with this instead? I could use it for something just totally different, frankly. How about, what if I just use it to modulate the waveform of the chord itself? Even that's still a little bit hard to hear. I mean, that's the FM modulation, which is you kind of alternate. Let's get this like I mean, obviously we don't have to use every output, but I'm just trying to think of where I want to do this. It also doesn't have to be related to the chord at all. Maybe that's the way to think about it. Let me just bring back the rest of the mix. I'm kind of puzzled at the moment. I don't know what I want to, where I want to take this. How about the 100 grit? What if I use it to modulate the resonance in the 100 grit? Let me solo the chord voice again. There we go. Maybe not that much, but well, it's definitely more interesting. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but I would say it qualifies. Okay. So, let's do this. Let's actually set up to record this and to get something that sounds musical. And how I'm going to do that, we're going to stop hams, which conveniently kills everything except for the chord voice. Cool. So I'm going to go quiet and we're going to record this. This is 120 BPM. Let me just show you my screen so you guys can see. You should be able to, now you should be able to see my screen. Yeah. Yes. Okay, cool. I'm just going to be recording it in Bitwig here. And we're just going to kind of record it to tape. Arm. Everything is armed. So I'm going to turn it up and we're just going to kind of play it out and see what happens. I'll just bring in various voices. Simple way to do it. As we jump around. Ready? Here we go. One, two. Cool. All right, everybody. That is going to bring us to the end of today's stream. If you watched it all, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I really do. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I think we got to a decent place. I'm not, as a quote unquote creative person, you're never really truly happy with your work. I think we did okay. It's not something I'll write home about, but it was fun. It was a good exercise. I think you just look at the rat's nest of wires that we have on the patch right now. I think that just says a lot about what is going on here. There is a lot going on. We have a drum voice, we have a somewhat of a lead voice, we have chords, we have a bass line. We have all of the makings of a song, and we're sequencing, again with air quotes, sequencing using kind of non-traditional methods, which I think is interesting. So if you guys liked this, if you guys followed along and made it to the end of these videos, I hope, God save your soul, I guess. But thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. But if you like these, if you have suggestions for other ways we can try these kind of patch from scratch series, please let us know, or let me know. There's only me. But let me know in the notes or in the comments, or just drop me a message. I really do want to hear your feedback. Like I said, I am a noob. I'm learning this all, COVID, right? COVID brings a lot of new hobbies to a lot of people. And so this is modular to me. Not much more to say than that. If you guys want to check out my Instagram for all sorts of cool modular and cat pictures and cats on modulars, you can check me out at build.music at Instagram. Obviously, if you found the YouTube channel and you're watching it, you either came from a couple places. You either came from my Instagram, which is great, or you came from, you found it on YouTube directly, is also great. Props to you if you're coming in from the DivKid Discord. If you are not familiar with the DivKid Discord, well worth the Patreon. First off, the Patreon helps out a really great guy, which is DivKid. He puts out a lot of great content for modular enthusiasts, a lot of kind of reviews and demo videos. But if you Patreon his channel, you get access to his Discord, and his Discord is amazing. I've met a lot of really cool people in there, a lot of great conversations about modular synthesis, a lot of gas, fortunately or unfortunately, a lot of money has been spent due to that channel. But just, it's a fun place to hang out and talk about this really cool, really weird thing, right? Like, not everybody wants to, I like to call this the kind of, the Charlie Day patch. If you're familiar at all with, Always Sunny in Philadelphia, when he's kind of the meme of him, kind of doing the web of like a true crime. That's what this looks like to me, right? You're like literally look like an insane person when you're trying to explain this to anybody else. So having a group of people that is dedicated, there's always conversations going on. And the one thing I like about the DivKid Discord, just to shout it out a little bit more, is it's not a wall of text. There's been other Discords, I'm not going to name names, but there's so many people on them, and there's so much going on that you just can't keep up. And I'm too old for that. I'm an old hoagie at this point. There's enough people on the DivKid Discord to keep the conversation going, but the pace moves slow enough that you don't get lost, and you don't feel like if you're not paying attention every second, you're missing out. You can put it down and come back to it a bit later, and there's still conversations going on. And you can kind of drop in and drop out as you need to, which I think is really great. So if you have not checked that out, I highly recommend it. I'm on there. A few other notable people are on there. You will recognize a lot of names. I don't want to out people if they don't want to be outed, but there's a lot of really great people on there, and everyone is really helpful, which I think is the other part. If you have a question, people jump up to answer it for you. There's a really good kind of sense of community there too. So please check out the DivKid Discord if you haven't, and if you want to chat with me directly. Let's see. Plans upcoming. So this patch will be destroyed. It is time to go. And that's one of the beauties of modular is that, obviously we can repatch to some extent if we wanted to get back to the state, but this will probably not exist again. And it will not sound the same, and will not get the same variations of whatever, right? It will be different next time. I have at least one new module to plug in, if not two, depending on if USPS gets their act together. They have been awful lately, like absolutely awful. I have 5 packages, going or receiving that are all delayed in various states, which is ridiculous. So depending on what shows up when, tomorrow afternoon, I think, I'm going to be putting in the Antumbra, I think how you say it, the atom, which is the micro elements, which is a kind of percussive voice. It uses this kind of synthesis of basically using this kind of exciter. So you can think of it like string plucks, mallet strikes, bowed sounds, blown sounds, anything that you can kind of think of something external exciting something else to make sound. That's kind of what the atom is known for, or / the elements is known for, and the atoms is basically just a mini version of that. So I'm really excited to play with that. I actually have it sitting. I can show it to you in all its glory right here. Pull it out of the box. Hold it up for the camera. Ooh, it's really pretty. This is like a very clean, elegant module. Also, black panels rule, please. Black panels. Everybody should be making black panels. I know there are sticklers for silver panels, and I have some in my case, mostly just because there are no alternatives for those modules, but I am a huge black panel fan. And if I was being really perfect about it, I would organize everything and only get black panel modules or find alternate panels, which I know people that do that. And kudos to you, Mr. CK Sample, who is a black panels only subscriber. I don't have that. I like other sounds. Specifically, IntelliGel only makes silver panel modules at the moment, which is a blessing and a curse. Their modules are really good, but I would love to see them in black panel if they ever get to that point. But that's not where we're at today, unfortunately. What were we talking about? Oh, plan for the week. So I'm going to not do a patch from scratch next week, or actually it will be a patch from scratch, but not intentionally. There won't be any sort of handicap on me. I have homework that I have to do. So I've been taking lessons with Second Breakfast. If you guys have not seen his videos, holy crap. They are amazing. Just the production quality he puts into them is ridiculous. He puts in a lot of work, and it really shows. He's been teaching me. I've had 2 lessons so far with him. They've both been amazing. But the homework I have to do is to build a song using the Symphonian, but really it's more or less into music theory. Basically kind of finding a chord progression that uses borrowed chords, different chord voicings. And then I have to have, for the homework at least, I have to have 2 parts of the song. So you can think of it, maybe it's a verse and a chorus, maybe it's a chorus and a bridge, something like that. But there has to be kind of 2 parts to the song. So for that, I will be using a sequencer. I will be using my push 2 with the DAW, and then the FH2 from Expert Sleepers to do the pitch to CV. But I'm not going to be, that's not the end of the story in terms of pitch. I'm going to be using the Symphonian to actually do the voice changing and chord voice. So that way, everything I do from a sequence perspective will fall into with the chords, but I will be sequencing the changes of the Symphonian with the FH2, which should be interesting. I was messing with it the other day. That's how I kind of figured out, and it's in the manual as well, but that's how I figured out that you can use the chromatic scale to change between steps of the sequencer on the Symphonian. So you can actually change which step within your chord sequence you're using. So plan to use that to kind of modulate the changes within chords within my sequence. So I'll have one channel that's kind of dedicated to stepping through those. And then I'll have the rest of the voices going into the Symphonian first before they go out to the actual oscillators. So that is the plan for next week. There may be other stuff going on during that, but that's where the patch is going to be going at the very least, just because that's kind of my goal. I have my next lesson on Thursday, so I want to get to have something for that. Anyway, 10:30 p.m. We went a little bit longer than normal. But we did get stuck for a little bit, so that's okay. I like where we ended, I think I'm really curious, I said it the other day, but The real purpose of these live streams is not for you, it's for me. And you can tell that just because no one's watching. So if you happen to watch this later, we had one person in the chat today. So thank you. Thank you to, I believe, her name was That Girl. Thank you, That Girl. I appreciate your watching and your tips, especially about the sample and hold stuff. That was really cool. But what was I saying? I was saying, yes, I'm not doing these videos for you. These are for me, and I get to be greedy because it's my toys, and I get to play with them. But let me tell a little anecdote. So when I was in elementary school, middle school, high school, I was in band. I played the tenor saxophone, and I was decent, but I never practiced because I just didn't want to. And I think that was a mistake in hindsight. I wish I did better. I wish I paid more attention. I wish I practiced. I wish I learned music theory back then when I was actually taking proper classes. I definitely regret that. I wish I took a proper kind of music class beyond band to learn music theory because, man, that's a big gap I have right now. So that's part of the reason why I'm taking these lessons and using the Symphonian kind of both as a crutch, but also as a jumping off point to dive into music theory has been really cool. So the purpose of these streams are really to force me to practice and to document it. Let's see. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the YouTube channel Matt Day. I got to find my cool hat. Document your life. These days, especially with COVID and everything going on. I think that's an important thing to live by. His channel is geared towards photography, which I'm also into. That's one of the reasons I'm here right now is because I normally do street photography, but when there's a pandemic, it's not really a good idea to be out on the street taking pictures of people. So we're inside and we need an inside thing. So we are playing with synthesizers instead. But the document your life thing still stands. I think there's a lot to say about that. So again, the purpose of this is really to be a forcing function, to practice, to document what I'm doing, and to kind of share. I don't anticipate I'm going to become the next YouTube superstar, though people do say I'm a pretty big deal. But it's fun. Hopefully I can give something to you guys, and you guys can learn from what I'm doing, and learn from my stumblings and failures, or my successes, depending on which happens and what the day is. But yeah, I think that's where we're at. So, without further ado, let's cut the stream. Thank you guys again for watching. I appreciate it. I will see you guys tomorrow. Assuming I can find my stream. There we go. No, that wasn't it. Did I lose it? I might have lost it. Whoops.